joined as always by Carlos. Good to see you, Carlos.
Nice to see you too, Mac.
Yeah, pleasure. And Carlos is a legend as far as I'm concerned. And he's here and he's with us and he's been following with myself Euro 2020 and obviously Copa America because Carlos is in Spain. So let's talk about yesterday. So look, England. Let's talk about England first of all. England were against Croatia and England made some changes. They had to because of Mason Mount being the main one, really, because of his contact with Billy Gilmore. And we'll talk about Scotland in a minute. But look, it's what did you think? What did you think of the whole game? What was your thoughts on it?
It was pretty boring. To be honest, I can't understand the hype that I was listening this morning to Talk Sport. My contact with England is limited, obviously, because I'm living in Spain, so I have to use the radio.
Yeah.
And people seem to be excited. Even last night after the game, when I went to bed, I switched on Talk Sport to see what some people were saying. And there's still the belief that England can win this.
Right. Okay.
Now, I'm not going to say they can't because, these things do happen. While you're still in a competition, you have a chance. But realistically, there are several teams better than England out there.
Yeah.
And England's football is not that encouraging. Now, people are saying, okay, we're not scoring, but we're not conceding. Yesterday against the Czechs, did they not concede because of their good defensive play or because the Czechs' shooting was off target? You see, the Czechs yesterday could have scored 2 or 3 times. Yeah. Quite clearly as well. They had good chances. So that shows that England were not stopping the Czechs.
Yeah.
And you're going to get better opposition than the Czechs from now on.
Yeah.
So England's big advantage is that they're playing at Wembley in the next game. Although it's going to be either France, Germany, or Portugal. People include Hungary, but Hungary would have to beat Germany in Munich. That's not going to happen.
No.
I think it'll probably be France. But France or Germany, and I think it'll be lights out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it couldn't have been any worse for England, who they're going to play next. Yes, they've got Wembley advantage. Yes, they've done okay in the group stages, but like you said, it's going to be so difficult to go against the teams which are of a much higher quality. My biggest issue at the moment with England is not so much the defending, even though it is a bit soft in places. It's I just think that they don't control the game enough. Once they scored the goal, well, we know first half was brilliant for them. Second half, it was painful. It was painful, and I want to get to Gareth Southgate really. So, what do you think about his strategy? I personally, on my side, I think he's sentimental with a few players who always get a game, regardless of criticism, regardless of how they're performing. They get a game. And I think that his strategy is not as well thought out as it should be. So what's your thoughts?
There seem to be some players who get in rather easily, or they have it easier than other players. And we were talking about this yesterday. I know people will point to the fact that Sterling scored twice, but sometimes getting a goal does not prove much when your match is 90 minutes long. Okay. You see, a goal is a second, and when you have to just push it in from a yard out, like yesterday, people will say you have to get there, which is true. You have to get into the right position. Yes, I'm not saying he's completely useless. Obviously, I'm not saying that. Players on the pitch will score. Otherwise, what are they doing on the pitch? But the fact is that his overall game, I thought, was terrible yesterday. Terrible. And it's been in line with what he's been doing for some time now. But I don't want to just point at Raheem Sterling. There are other cases, I think. Also, what I think, I was thinking about Kane. You know, when you mentioned the Kane situation to me yesterday,
Yeah,
we were talking about it last night during the
yeah,
game as
we're
well.
talking. Throughout the game, me and Carlos
Yeah,
and
yeah.
others were talking about the game, literally commentating to ourselves.
I was thinking about the Kane situation and why he's not playing as well and why he's not scoring. And I think it is because Southgate wants Kane to play more as a target man.
Mm,
So he's further up the field. He has less area to move in, and he has a centre back sticking to his back.
yeah,
Whereas when he plays for Tottenham, he has a freer role. He roams a lot
yeah,
more, which is what he likes to do. He drops. He likes to face the goal. He doesn't like to play with his back to goal and with a
no,
defender sticking to him. So when he roams and when he has the goal in front of him, he can do things. He can give good passes. He can find space. He can shoot. He can make runs. So I think the targets man role is not right for him. And I
no.
think that is one of the reasons why maybe he's not performing as expected.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, you're right. He loves one touch and then either shoot or pass it on. And he also likes, like you said, the whole Son situation where he's got someone who's faster than him. Because obviously, Kane hasn't got pace. He likes someone who's faster than him, running with him, bouncing off the ball with him, and all the rest of it. But obviously, that's not happening. So it's one of those things. But let's turn to the positives. Bukayo Saka. Oh my God, this kid. I mean, he's literally doing what he did at Arsenal, and he saved Arsenal from capitulation, from a relegation battle. Him and Emil Smith Rowe. Um, what do you think of this kid? The lack of fear is incredible. He just doesn't care who he's playing, right?
Well, when I saw the lineup and I saw Saka was playing, my initial reaction was, "Oh dear, is he ready?"
Mm.
But he showed he was.
Yeah.
I thought he was England's best player.
Oh, without shadow of doubt. That's why he got man of the match.
Oh really? He did. Excellent.
Yeah, he
I'm
did.
pleased
Yeah.
for him because he deserved that. He was he was fearless. He ran at the checks, which is something players don't often do nowadays.
Mm,
He took men on, he beat them, and he put good balls across. I thought he was exciting, and he was a thorn in the Czech side.
mm.
So therefore, I think he should keep his place. But again, we're going to see once again whether Southgate favours some players or others. All managers do, obviously, because they
Yeah, of
do have
course.
their preferences.
Mm,
But will he be in the side in the last
yeah.
16, or will he be sitting on the bench?
Yeah, and this is the issue. That's Gareth Southgate has to make the hard decisions, right? Look, Foden has to come back. We've got Mason Mount sitting there as well. They were having a big debate last night, but it has to be Saka. I mean, the hard decisions have to be made, but Saka proved that he's the man who can do the job, and he can do it well. He created, he ran at people, and yeah, it was fantastic. And the reason why, also, just with a quick side note on the man of the match thing, they do a weird thing now, UEFA, where they do a person of the match and they give the award after all of the interviews and stuff like that. So you have to actually look it up to see the person holding the award. So that's why you wouldn't have known at the time, as opposed to obviously normal situations. So look, we'll see what happens. We've said that we predict England will lose probably. Think about Arsenal, of course, Saka, Arsenal, why not? But we'll see what happens with England next round. It's going to be interesting. Um, Look, they've got Croatia as well. Did amazingly talking about them. So Croatia playing Scotland. Gilmore was missing. We know that, and well, what can we say about? Let's talk about Croatia. Actually. Let's talk about Modric. What a player! What a goal! That was
Oh,
incredible.
he's always been brilliant. I've always liked Modric from his early days. I remember when he was at, was it Dynamo Zagreb? I can't remember where he started.
Yeah, it come from somewhere like that.
But even then, people were making comparisons with Johan Cruyff. Obviously, he's not a Johan Cruyff type of player, but um, he has quality. He makes time for himself. He's good on the ball. His passing is excellent. He can beat a man and then release the ball into space. He likes to get forward. One thing he didn't used to do when he was at Tottenham, when he played in the central midfield role, he was found wanting because he wasn't very good at tackling and he didn't put himself about. But he, several years ago, acquired that. He's changed his game. He's now not a player to play behind a striker or behind two strikers, which is what he was initially. He is now a central midfielder who puts himself about, tackles. Probably no one runs more on the pitch than he does.
Yeah.
He does hard work, he grafts, and also he provides the quality. A tremendous all-round player, one of the best in his position in the world.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt, I was extremely impressed with what I saw of him. It just so good and everything he does. And like I said, when he was at Tottenham, it was good. It was good. And obviously, I'm Arsenal, so obviously wasn't happy about that. But luckily, they didn't win much, so that's all good. But luckily, he's gone to Real Madrid. He's extended his contract now. He's won the Ballon d'Or once, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So he's look. This guy is exceptional and deserves all the plaudits he gets. I mean, the goal was incredible. He leads the line. He's everything you dream of, probably as a manager. The fact that he can defend well, as we were talking. On the flip side, Grealish was struggling to defend. Literally every time he tackled, it was a foul and it was a free kick. It's just got everything. So, I mean, we can flip back to the Grealish situation, actually. I mean, what did you make of that Grealish situation? I mean,
Well, you know,
I
I'm
don't know
not a
what the fuss is
fan.
about. I don't know what the fuss is about.
I'm in your camp. I'm not a fan. Everyone seems to be building up this guy. Now, once again, as I said about Sterling, I'm not saying he's not a good player. Obviously, anyone who's in or around the England team is a good player, but we're talking top quality international football. So you have to be at that standard. Otherwise, your team won't be up to it. Now, I must admit that in the second half, there was a point when the camera showed Grealish close up. And suddenly I thought, oh my God, he's still on the pitch. I'd forgotten he was on the pitch. I really had forgotten he was still playing. You're right, he can't tackle. He goes in, he's keen. He knows he has to tackle, but he fouls because he doesn't know how to tackle. He likes to pick up the ball close to midfield, run forward. But then he gives a short pass normally, which is not a telling pass. He doesn't usually do anything which will change the game. He doesn't seem to be a game changer.
Yeah.
Which is what you would expect. I mean, for instance, a player like Maddison, who's not even in the squad, I think is more of a game changer than Grealish. Foden is more of a game changer.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. And it's funny because I was listening to Sky Sports and they were saying that the Grealish camp, as in his close people, are perplexed as to why he hasn't got into the England squad sooner.
Yeah.
It's just all those people are literally listening to the hype and expecting him to be treated like royalty. I don't get it. You got to prove it. He hasn't proved it at all. The first half of the season with Villa, they were okay, but second half they were so poor, and he was part of that. I know he was injured part of it as well, but look, I don't understand the furore about him. I think he's
there are certain players who, once they get the press on their side, will live off that. There have been many cases, many cases, players who, regardless what they do, will get the Man of the Match award. They will get praised. You know, one of my pet favorites, I'm being ironic now, is
Uh,
Neymar. Neymar, even when Neymar is awful, he
yeah,
will get man of the match.
yeah, it's not
Just
good.
yeah, yeah. It's just a case of getting on the press's good side, winning them over, and then you're always going to get in the headlines, and you're going to get the support of the media, which is very important.
Yeah,
It sometimes gets you in the England team or in any international team, because media pressure will eventually make a manager buckle and go with the flow.
yeah. No, you're right. You're right. And look, it's a conundrum with Grealish, but we'll see what happens. And I heard lots of people talking about him going to get bidded to move from Aston Villa, but we know that's not going to happen. But moving on from Grealish, I must make a special mention to Schick, my one of my favourites, and not one of your favourites from Czech Republic, right? Czech, obviously, and he disappeared. Obviously, against the game against England, I was disappointed. I thought he'd been good before, but it is what it is. So we'll see what happens with him. But it's look, it's unfortunate that he didn't have a good game, but he's got an opportunity to do it again in the round of 16. So we'll see. Right. So let's move back to the Scotland game. So also we talked about the stand-up play, obviously, for Croatia. So what does Scotland have to do to get out of a group? Because you gave me the stat, and that was
Eight World
fascinating.
Cups, 8 World Cups, 3 Euros. They've never got out of the group.
What do they need to do to get out of the group? Come on, Steve Clark. I love that guy. Honest guy. Always elevated people in a great way. Done great things in club football with Chelsea and in the Scottish League. So what do they need to do? I talked about, obviously they need to find someone with a tenuous type of link, someone who is like got a grandmother twice removed or something to find the striker. What do you think they need to do? Do you think it's a grassroots thing? What do you think?
Going back, see, nowadays it's easy to point out why they can't qualify. I mean, they got into the Euros through the back door. They didn't qualify through the European qualifiers. They got in through the Nations League, like
Yeah,
North Macedonia. They opened certain slots for teams from the lower levels of the Nations League.
yeah,
So, in actual fact, they weren't really good enough to be there. So
right.
nowadays, it's easy to find out why they're not qualifying. But if you go back to the 70s, when they had good football teams,
Yeah,
they couldn't make it in 74 in the World Cup in Germany. They
yeah.
started off by beating Zaire 2-0. That was Dennis Law's last match, if I
Wow,
remember right.
yeah, wow, Zaire, wow, that's
Yeah.
incredible.
Currently Congo. It was Congo before.
Yeah,
Congo Brazzaville, then Zaire, and then Congo once again.
Congo again, yeah.
Is it Brazzaville or the other Congo? There's two Congos. Maybe I'm getting. No, it's not Brazzaville. It's the other Congo, I think. It's the Republic of Congo, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
If anyone knows exactly, then they can drop us a message. I think it's
yeah.
the Republic of Congo. People's Republic of Congo, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh,
Anyway,
okay.
yeah. Anyway, then they drew with Brazil 0-0, and they could have won.
Scotland drew Brazil. Wow.
Yeah, they could have won. Billy Bremner missed a sitter practically on the goal line,
Oh
put
my
it
God,
wide,
he's a
and
legend
then they
for Scotland.
drew. Then they drew 1-1 with Yugoslavia, and those results put Scotland out because Yugoslavia had beaten Zaire 9-0.
Wow.
So on goal difference, that was Scotland out, and they had a very good team. Then in '78, they lost to Peru, a very good Peruvian team. It was a great match. If anyone likes to watch old matches, they should look for the Peru-Scotland 1978. Really good match. You see some brilliant football from Peru. But then Scotland drew with Iran.
What?
And
Iran?
this wasn't the Iran
What?
of today, which is more competitive. This was the Iran of 1978.
Okay.
And then they had to beat Holland, the Holland which had been World Cup finalists 4 years earlier, they had to beat them by 2 or 3 clear goals in order to qualify. Well, Scotland took a 3-1 lead.
Right.
But then the Dutch made it 3-2, and the Scots won, the only match they won, but that wasn't enough. So in the 70s, they were rather unlucky because they did have very good teams. But what do they have to do now? I don't know. They just haven't got the players. When you haven't got the players, there's not much you can do.
Yeah.
So maybe
Never got the
they
goal.
maybe they need to develop their academies. Maybe they need an international, a Scotland football academy, not just the club's academies, but one from the SFA, like the French have done with Clairefontaine, to develop their own players. Maybe they should be doing something like that. Scotland always produced very good players, so why has the talent dried up? It's a mystery
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah, and it's not like some of these Scottish players are not playing in the Championship or the Scottish League or some even in the Premiership. It's not that they're not there. It's just that there's some certain areas where they've, well, from even just what you've just told me about, apart from the 70s, really, they've always lacked the goals. They haven't got that really ruthless goal scorers around. And even when those players are not doing well, like Kane, they haven't got people to kind of prop things up, and that, I think, that's the issue. It doesn't sound like they've ever had too many issues with the midfield. I know there were some great midfield players before, but they've got some good midfield players. Okay, reasonable, all right. And defense has always been, well, the goalkeeper's amazing, but the goals is their issue, isn't it? They can't find decent goal scorers. Ched Evans, his name. Was it Ched Adams? I can't remember.
Che Adams, Che
Che
Adams,
Adams,
yeah.
poor, and he plays for Southampton. I'm just trying to think. This, if they could just find somebody to stay in maybe Scotland long enough, a Brazilian or something, or some, I don't know, anybody who can score, then they would definitely be in a much better position, because scoring one goal, you know, two if you're lucky, then it's not enough, is it? I mean, England have got away with it so far, but they won't be able to get that. We've talked about, get away with it any longer.
When you go back to the 70s and 80s, you would look at all the top teams in England, and they all had 3, 4, 5 Scots.
Right.
That's not the case anymore.
No.
The great Liverpool team had Alan Hansen, Graham Souness,
Yeah.
Kenny Dalglish,
Yeah.
and there were more. Man United, Martin Buchan, Arthur Albiston, Lou Macari. They all had loads of players. Nottingham Forest, the Nottingham Forest that won the league and won 2 European Cups. John Robertson, Kenny Burns. They all had Scots, which proved that the quality of Scottish football was there. But now you've got McTominay at Man U.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I can't think of many more who are playing for top sides. Robertson's playing for Liverpool.
Yeah. You got Gilmore, obviously doesn't get a game, but
Doesn't get a game.
Yeah. And
So,
Tierney, but Tierney's always injured. He literally spends half his season injured.
yeah. Yes,
even
but
though
we're talking about maybe one player playing for a big team. Not many more. There were times when the old dominant Liverpool team had half its team was Scottish. So the player development, for some reason, is not there anymore.
Yeah. Oh, well. Well, we'll see what happens. But look, we need to move on. So thinking about tonight, the only game really that's really matters, that's exciting, which I'm going to be live streaming and you're going to join at some point as well. Portugal against France. This is a big game. They've played each other many times before, but this is huge. Portugal, the holders of Euros, European champions, against the world champions. The world champions, France, are in a much stronger position, obviously, to go through along with Germany. Portugal need to win, and it's as simple as that. It's an exciting game. Ronaldo against Mbappe and all the other connotations. Obviously, Griezmann and Pogba and all the rest of it, and all the other Portuguese players. that we know, Fernandez, and it goes on. The list goes on. It's star-studded, and we're going to be covering it tonight. So, what do you think about that game? What do you think that's going to be?
Well, a draw will put Portugal through as one of the best thirds
Okay.
because they will be on 4 points.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Finland and Ukraine finished third. What did Finland finish? Yes, they did finish third on 3 points. So because
Right.
4 out of 6 qualify, it means that a draw would put Portugal through. If you get
Yeah.
4 points, you're through.
Yeah.
But France know that if they draw, they'll finish second. Second means going to Wembley to face England. Will they fancy that? Maybe they'll relish it.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll be happy. I don't know who. Well, the top team would play a third team, so they don't yet know who they would face as group winners, I think. But will France go all out to win? You know, sometimes there are unspoken agreements between teams. When a draw is sufficient for both teams, matches usually end in a draw. So let's see. This match, if Portugal needed to win and France also needed to win, then it could have been a fantastic game. But it could turn out to be dull.
Yeah.
Depending on the attitude of both. If they both play to win, it could be a great match. But I'm not so sure that's going to be the case.
Yeah, no, and look, we're gonna find out tonight. But that's got the interesting thoughts about it, because I think, like you said, on paper it should be a lovely match to watch, but it could be very cagey, like I said, and no one wants to make a mistake. Well, obviously France are through, but do they want to finish top? And like I said, they don't know who they could play, and it's got lots of different subplots. So we'll see what happens. But we'll be doing it tonight anyway, so that'll be good. So let's quickly cover anything on Copa America. Anything been happening there of any note?
There were no matches yesterday. The previous night, Argentina beat Paraguay 1-0. Argentina still not looking good. Right. They're there for the taking. Uruguay and Chile drew 1-1. Chile have included a lot of new players. They're trying to blend youngsters with the old guard, and they're not quite there yet. It's going to take some time. Well, also what we must remember is that Chile were never a top team anyway. Watching on TV here, well, not on TV because no TV company bought it. A YouTuber bought the Copa America here, and he is showing the Copa America on Twitch, which is incredible. It shows you the future of live transmissions.
Yeah.
TV companies might become irrelevant.
Yeah.
But anyway, he and some guests were saying, we're talking about Chile as if they were a big footballing nation. They're not. They're not. Only because the recent generation won the Copa America twice. And because they've been qualifying for the World Cup, it might give that impression. But that was just a generation. Same thing that happens to many countries.
Spain.
Uruguay have been playing awful football. I think I heard Souness say about Clark that he has to change his tactics to 21st century tactics, which I thought was cruel, and I'm not even sure was accurate.
Yeah, I agree.
But something similar to that could be said to the manager of Uruguay, because it's not so much the players. They have the players. Uruguay should be beating everyone and should be on a par with Brazil and better than the current Argentina. But the style of play, the game plan, the tactics, everything seems to be holding the team back. When you have great forwards, and this has been the case for ages, such as Suarez and Cavani, you have to give them the service. And if you don't, you're wasting them. And Uruguay do not give them the service. They just hit a long ball, hoping that the two strikers will somehow find themselves in enough space or create themselves an opportunity. But aged 34, 35 now, that becomes more and more difficult. So what do? They hit a long ball, try to pick up the second ball, and somehow create danger that way. They play the ball around, and then eventually they just send a cross into the middle. That is all they have as an attacking option. That's not enough. That's nowhere near enough. And when you have players who can play better football, use them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Uruguay are a surprising team. They could play awful football and go all the way to the final. I doubt it. I doubt it because they're not looking capable. The way they've been playing in the last few matches, I don't think they can beat anyone, to be honest.
Yeah, it was. We had a chat, didn't we? So I watched a little bit of the second half of Uruguay against Chile, and the way I saw that game, it astounded me. It was quite fascinating. I wish I could have watched more. It was literally like watching the 90th minute with 3 minutes to play of teams trying to get the winning goal. It was Route One football, direct. Everyone was losing the ball. Literally, no one could string three passes together without losing the ball. Everyone was falling all over the place. When the ball eventually got to the final third, the world-class players, Cavani and Suarez, were doing well, just out of character shots, and it was very surreal for me watching players I know are world class, from the best in the world, doing stuff which was, well, stuff you'd do in a playground, really. But amazingly, I woke up the next day and there was a draw, because at the time Chile were winning 1-0. So I don't know. You told me the game got better, but
Well,
like
only slightly. Only slightly. See, the thing is, when you think Uruguay have got Betancourt, who plays for Juventus. They've got Valverde, who plays for Real Madrid. They've got Vecino, who plays for the Italian champions, Inter Milan. These players, if they couldn't play a decent pass, they wouldn't be at those clubs. So something must be going on with the training, the match preparation, what they are asked to do for them to be playing so badly. Now, there's not enough movement, anywhere near enough movement in front of the ball. So whenever they try to play the ball forward, the pass is intercepted. It looks like it's a bad pass. But when you're not making runs and you're not making space, then it's very difficult to connect the midfield with the forwards. So there's so much work to do. We need a new manager.
Yeah. No, and hopefully that happens. So, look, we better finish there.
I'm available.
Do it. Get your application in. Oh God! Well, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you, Carl. It's been a pleasure as always, and
Thank you.
We'll do it again on Friday morning. But look, we've had a great chat. It's been fantastic chatting about Euro 2020s with obviously England against Czech Republic, and obviously Croatia against Scotland. And look, we talked about Copa America as well, and we talked about all kinds of things. So leave your comments. Let us know your thoughts on everything. Let us know if there's anything that you in particular or strongly feel about how things are going to go. We're going to be back tonight. Portugal against France should be very interesting. Could go either way, as Carlos said. Could go to be an exciting match, a frantic match, a bit of excitement, the quality coming through, or it could be a very dry, very wary, very boring game of a 0-0 or 1-1. So we shall see. But look, thank you for all of you who've joined. Thank you for all of you who've listened. We appreciate it. Leave your comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And